What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Sector for Nerds. I'm Ryan Brower, and today we are here to talk about Star Wars Visions Episode 8, Lop and Ochō. I believed I pronounced those two names right. But before we do that, you guys, make sure you guys like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. If this is your first time watching, I like to do a lot of reaction videos to fan-made Star Wars content, whether that's fan films or tribute videos, and I also like to do a lot of discussions on the latest episodes that appear on Disney Plus from both Star Wars and Marvel. We've been doing it since the start of Disney Plus, and we will continue to do so as more shows are released. So I encourage you guys to subscribe if you haven't already. It's free, it doesn't cost you anything, and I would love to become a full-time YouTuber someday, but I cannot do that without your guys' support. So please subscribe if you haven't already. It would mean the world to me. Let's start talking about this episode, you guys. I personally really enjoyed this episode. I thought this was another really good episode of Star Wars Visions. I think where I'm having a bit of a problem with this show is the fact that a lot of these stories that they're telling, because they're just one episode stories, it's hard for me to fully get invested in a lot of these characters because I want to, but then it's just like, oh, well, the story's done. We're not going to be getting any more. But for what it's worth, these episodes are able to get me invested in the characters, at least in that moment. But then once the episode ends, then I go oh, but that's it. Now I'm done. There's nothing that's coming next. Unless they end up doing more episodes. I'm not really sure. The thing that I like about these stories in Star Wars Visions is that each of them are different. This episode managed to center around a family, and a family that was essentially just being formed within this episode, right? Because at the start, we have this bunny-looking girl running away, which, by the way, I was wondering when this girl was going to show up, because I remember seeing her in the trailers, and then in the, picture, the main cover photo for the show, so it's okay, when are we going to get this girl? But we finally got her in this episode. She was basically just trying to survive on her own because she ended up losing her parents. Kind of reminded me of Ezra Bridger's story a little bit. And then she was taken in by this family of Ochō, who was the girl, and then her father. And her father was kind of against it at first, but Ochō was so adamant about her being a part of the family, and they end up allowing her to be a part of the family. And the father says Dank Farrik, which is a thing from Mandalorian, so I thought that was a nice reference. Then we get a 7-year time jump, and during that time, the father is very much against the Empire being on the planet that they're on. I believe it's called Tau. And the daughter was very all for the Empire being there, Ochō, that is, because she feels that, hey, I'm the next heir to the throne. I want to look after my people. The Empire provide us with food and support. We need them. And to the father's argument, it's yeah, but they do that as a way to take over. They pretend like they're helping you, but in reality, they're just trying to take over. Both sides with valid points. You know what I'm saying? I can understand the positioning of where both the father and daughter stood at. Lop was kind of in the middle of all this. She obviously wanted to try and keep her family together. What this episode showed was that she was very passionate about the home that she had found on this planet, even though it's not her home planet. But the fact that she had lived there for 7 years and that these people had taken her in, she truly thought of them as family, and she really does care about them. Ochō ended up going behind her father's back to cut deals with the Empire. Lop was actually very much against this, and once Ochō joins the Empire, Lop runs away, and she's in tears, and she's sad because all she just wants is to be with her family, and she runs back to her father and says she joined the Empire. And then there's this scene where the father introduces a lightsaber, and he's telling this story about how a Jedi was from this a Jedi came to this planet, he died there, the family kept the saber, and they used it almost like a symbol to represent the bond between parent and child, which I thought was really cool because it's kind of like the dark saber where there's a story behind it, right? Where it's we use this as a symbol of the leader to determine who is Mandalore. And in this case, the saber is used to represent a bond between family, which I thought was super cool. Real quick, I want to give a shout out to the music throughout this episode. A lot of the music in this show, you guys, has been really good. Obviously, I still think that The Village Bride is #1 when it comes to the music, and between that episode and The Ninth Jedi. Those are still my two favorites, but this episode was right up there, both with music and how good of a story the episode was. I really enjoyed the few final minutes of this episode where Ocho fought her father. She ends up blinding him, and then Lop ends up coming in to fight Ocho. And this was the scene that I really enjoyed because their fight, like, it wasn't so much of like an epic fight. I mean, the fight was pretty good, but there was a lot more emotion into it. And Lop just wanting, like, you know, come back, sister, let us be a family again, walk away from this. And of course, Ocho being very loyal to the Empire, it's like she's, you know, she doesn't want to do that. I thought Lop ended up killing Ocho, but then nope, I guess maybe not. She's still alive. Then the episode ends on the hologram of the day that they had met, the droid that had taken photo of them or video, the day that they had became a family. And of course, Ocho going, we're going to become a proper family. And then Lop sort of repeating that in the background. You can hear her voice saying that. So it's almost like one of those things where it's like, okay, this story could continue. Oh, wait, but it's not because it's a one episode thing. But like I said, you guys, I loved this episode. I loved the family dynamic. One of the comparisons that I made early on in this episode when it came to the family dynamic here was a lot of inspiration from Star Wars Rebels, where the father could be Kanan, Ocho could be Sabine, and Lop could be Ezra, in the sense that, you know, Ezra was taken in by this family, and I know Sabine was as well, but the conversation that Lop and Ocho had where it's like, you know that, you know, your father loves you and all that stuff, it almost kind of reminded me of the Trials of the Darksaber episode where Sabine gets really mad at Kanan, and then Ezra goes to talk with her and be like, you know, I know what it's like, you know, but Kanan may not be the easiest teacher, but he means well, he cares about you. I get it's not fully like that, but that was kind of one of the things that I was thinking about. Yeah, you guys, I think that's gonna wrap us up here today. Make sure you guys like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let me know in the comments what you guys thought about this episode, and I will see you guys next time.